Start. Okay, good morning, everybody. We are going to talk about how to present information to a buyer as a buyer consultation / presentation. So there are some handouts that I have put into Back Agent for everybody. So I'm here on the home page of Back Agent. To access those handouts, you would go to Learn, and then you go to Learning Resources. And then there are several that you would look at. There's the buyer consultation, prospect identification form, and required paperwork for a buyer. So let's start with this first one, which is on buyer consultations. First thing I always tell people, if it's someone you know personally, it's not as big of a deal, but if it's somebody that you have met either through the telephone or as an internet lead or something like that, always best to meet ideally at the office or at a public place when you're going to do an initial consult. And the second item would be to be sure and prep them ahead of time, make sure that they know that they need to bring a photo ID with them. If they're not willing to do that for you, then they're probably not very serious. Even as a renter, they're going to have to provide proof of ID when they turn in a rental application. Certainly as a buyer, they have to have proof of ID. And if, believe it or not, even for sellers, if you don't know this individual, you look up title information, they tell you who they are, and you haven't cross-checked against identification, you don't know for sure if they're the actual seller of the property or not. So it's never a bad idea at the initial consultation to request ID. And then always have some kind of a system worked out when you're going to show somebody properties. Definitely don't start at the property, start at the office or at a public place, but then have some kind of a system where you're dialed in, either sending Eric and I a list of the properties, or your spouse, or Stacy, but always have a system for this is who we're going to go see or where we're going to go see, and etc. Okay. The other thing is, when you do an initial consultation, always a good idea to do some questions. Get to know them a little bit. Talk about their family, recreational activities, their occupation, or their goals. I call it the frog system. That way you can really dial into what their needs and their wants are. And also to use a questionnaire or a script, and I've got a handout for that for people that don't have them. And if you're watching this as a video, I can email that to you. The third part is to always have information on the process of buying a home. I joke around about this all the time. I said this is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's just like buying a house. It's so hard. And ha ha ha, they all laugh. But it's true. It's quite a process. And what I let everybody know is that we are in charge of the process, they're in charge of the decisions. So we need to control the process. We need to be masters at the process. So if you don't know what's step 2 and after escrow gets open, what's going on, that's a problem. Make sure you know what the process is, and then have resources for them to take with them. I also tell my clients, you're going to forget 90 to 95% of what we talk about today. But that's okay. I just want to go over it with you as an overview. Also, when they have questions for you, and they will, well, what's a good area of town? Is there a lot of crime in this neighborhood? Things like that. Be the source of the source. Do not steer them in any direction or red line, things like that. And it happens subtly. Well, I live in Green Valley, and I love Green Valley. Oh, and Green Valley High School is just the best place on earth. You would fall in love with Green Valley. You have just steered them, whether you know it or not. So just always be the source of the source. And it frustrates people because they want you to just tell them. Well, unfortunately, you could get yourself in danger. And there are testers out there. I was at a training over at GLVAR not too long ago, and the broker that was doing the training had said that one of her agents got nailed. And the situation was, this was a rental property. They said, hey, we're fixing da-da-da-da. We're not ready to show the property. We'll let you know when it's available. So somebody calls, prospective tenant. They say, hey, I'm interested in 123 Main Street. Can I see it? Oh, sorry, it's not available for showing right now. This person had a heavy accent. Next day, 10 o'clock in the morning, they get another call. Well, in the meantime, at about an hour before, the owner of the property said, oh, we took care of all those repairs. It's ready to show. So, person calls at 10 o'clock, no thick, heavy accent. Oh yeah, when would you like to go see it? It's available to show. So, those two people were testers. And so they were both HUD people.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Did the agent this following day check with the management company to make sure the repairs were done or not done yet?
This is what happened. It was the listing agent that took both phone calls. The listing agent got an email from the
the listing agent
owner.
The owner had already fixed the items.
Yes, and so that's when that other call came in.
Okay.
That's how they got. Now, how could they have fixed that situation?
The listing agent should have called the other person that called them and say,
It's now available.
It's now available.
Exactly. So it does exist. It happens all the time. Okay, people are out there. So you don't want to be in this situation where you've never met this person and you're so excited to tell them about Green Valley. Because if they're a tester, you just got busted. Big time. Right? So make it a practice to always be the source of the source. This would also be the time to talk about the buyer brokerage agreement if you're going to use one, and the transaction fee if you're charging the buyer for that. Not when they're excited about a house, they're ready to make an offer. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention there's a $395 transaction fee. We'll just add that on and you're responsible for it. Talk about leaving a bad taste in their mouth. That's the worst time to do it. So always, that's the time to talk about those kinds of things. And then number 4, I always tell people this is the carrot that you're dangling in front of them. This is the opportunity to start to really dial into the search. So let the market help you with that. So you would then, after you've asked all the questions, you've filled out the questionnaire, you know what it is that they're looking for, you're going to run a matrix search, okay, and then let them funnel their choices down based on the results. Or if there's no choices, well, it's got to have a swimming pool, it's got to have at least 4 bedrooms, a loft, an office, a library, a formal dining room, and I want to pay $250,000. Guess what they're going to find after you run this search? 0. You want to build back up. Well, can you live without the library and the pool? Can you live without the 4th, until you get up to that 15? But that, I think, to them is the reason that they came to see you. They want to see the properties. This is also a good time to educate your client. They go all the time, and they look on Zillow, they look on Trulia, Realtor.com. They didn't punch in the fact that you're only going to show them properties that are FHA qualified. They see all these properties, they may be cash only. But for all they know, you're lying to them. You haven't shown them all the properties. You're holding back because, you have other special clients that you want to show. It's not true, but that's what they think. They think that you don't have as good of information as what Realtor.com or Trulia or Zillow has. And I used to, believe it or not, I actually used to use Realtor.com as a secondary source for my clients. At the time, our list type agreement actually was live. I mean, within a few minutes of it going on the MLS, Realtor.com had those updates. Zillow and Trulia don't necessarily do that. Well, because of certain security settings and things like that, GLVR has canceled our list hub agreement. So it's actually not the most reliable source anymore. And so I tell them the most reliable source is to get it directly from the MLS. When I set up a portal for you, if you don't like what you're seeing, you can expand those, your search results however you want. And you could send me that information. You're getting the same information from the same sources I am. But I also let them know the reason you're not seeing some of these properties is because you're a VA buyer. These people have said that they will not, for whatever reason, consider VA. Can we ask them if they would consider a strong VA offer? Absolutely. But unfortunately, the reality is right now they say they won't consider FHA as a potential financing source. So that's how you can educate your client. So it all comes down to that initial meeting, giving them the information that you need, getting that from them, and then also giving them something to look forward to in terms of the search. At that initial consultation, that's also a good time to go ahead and get some information from this person. Who they are, contact information, kind of up to you as far as the make and model of the automobile. That's just something additional on there, but for sure get some contact information from them, and then have that with you, or better yet, have that in the office so that we can, get some information from them. And when it says agent's name, of course, that's going to be you. and then the client, etc. You can have them fill it out, or you can just ask them the questions and then you can complete that. It's mostly a security thing for you. Then the other thing that I have put out, and I have available as a download, I'll email to people that aren't here live right now that are going to watch this video, is a questionnaire for your clients. This is where you kind of get them excited. These are their needs and wants, kind of a thing. And so what you can do is you can go through and ask these questions, try to narrow, help them, what is it that they're really looking for, their needs and their wants. Of course, their budget is the restriction always, which is where the lender comes into play in the pre-approval process. But on that, you can get some information from them. Birth date, that's a good time to get it because then you've got information you can put in your CRM for later, for reaching out to them, things like that. How they prefer to be contacted, what's their ideal day for purchasing, have they talked to a lender? If they have, do they have pre-approval, etc. And then talking about their current situation. What is it that they like about where they're at? What would you like to have on the new property? Things like that.
You find that if you fill this out or they fill it out, which is more?
I typically have it in front of me, and it's a conversation. I ask them these questions. Yeah, exactly. I found that to be, because again, it's about you're still in that process of building that relationship with them. What is it that they don't like? Oh my gosh, I have no room for my kids to play. I'm in this apartment. It sucks. I gotta have room for my kids, right? What's the primary reason for searching for a new home? Is this a first purchase, reload, move up, etc.? And that's important information to know as well, because again, you can kind of tailor the information about the financing based on that as well. Especially if it's a move up, well, you might have a second transaction there with the sale of their current property. So that's always good. And then, what is this question number 5 addressing? Scale of 1 to 10, meaning you must buy a home as quickly as possible, and 1 is not, you're not even sure. You're getting their motivation level. How serious are these people? Should you be stopping everything you're doing in your life and going out and showing them properties, or if they're just kind of kicking tires right now, is it so urgent you have to go out every single time they call you up about a property? And then getting to know about who they are, their household, and then it talks about accommodating any special needs. Not necessarily a deal breaker in all cases. However, if you know that a single story is preferred because otherwise they have to do some serious modifications, you're going to try to tailor your search for that. Do you have any pets? I don't know if that's a huge issue for a buyer, but again, if you're kind of getting to know them, it wouldn't be for a buyer even that big a deal. That's one of the reasons they get to own a house. But if it's a condo and they have breed restrictions, that's important. But the other, go ahead. Yeah.
Even in non-condos on their
Mm-hmm.
there is a breed number of pets, which is even less than the 3 that's allowed, or size, and that's from utilities.
Yeah. So, and there's things that you can get around with that. But the other reason that third question is important is you get to know who these people are and maybe have some things in common. I'm going to stop for just a second and check my.